Hey, everybody. Welcome to Meddkit's Provider Spotlight, where we are interviewing the most amazing private practices all across the United States. And we are giving a little bit of info on the most interesting things happening in our little corner of healthcare. So, without further ado, I'd really like to introduce you to our awesome two guests that we have. It's been a while since I've had a duo, so I'm very excited for this. We have Dr. Erica Abraham and Dr. Angie Darcus of Axon Health as our guest speakers. Thanks so much, you two, for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll kind of dive in. I know since we got dual the ladies, we got a lot to power through, but would love to hear both of your stories. And Erica, how you started this mission, with Axon Health.
So we started Axon Health, actually, my husband and I started it in 2020, sort of out of necessity.
Yeah.
We had moved to Colorado Springs after Angie and I know each other because we went to school together. So all three of us were in class together. We survived together. But then
experience.
Yeah, exactly. So my husband and I moved out to Colorado Springs for some jobs, and unfortunately that just did not go very well. Um, and we ended up quitting somewhat abruptly because it was a pretty toxic environment. And we were both looking for new jobs, but the offers that we were getting, they both wanted us to sign non-competes and non-disclosures. So I was basically going from sitting next to my husband every day in class to working with him at the same clinic to barely being able to tell him how my day went. And so that didn't really sit well with me. And so we decided to go out on our own. And the mobile piece well, I mean, it did start again out of necessity because this is mid-pandemic and we don't know what is going to happen with regards to shutting things down. And, we're starting this clinic off and we have 0 patients and an overhead and the threat of being shut down. So we decided to reduce our risk by going mobile with the intent that at one point we would open a brick and mortar clinic. But then we started to notice that at least within our area, there weren't really a ton of chiropractors who were offering this at the time. I mean, our county has 750,000 people. So there's quite a few people, like there's a lot of people out here. But there were only 2 other chiropractors that were offering mobile care at the time. And now it's just us. So there was a niche there and there was a need that wasn't being filled, especially because again, this is COVID. People don't really want to sit in a waiting room around other people. They don't necessarily want to have to leave their house if they don't want to. So it was really a good time for us to actually start mobile. And then as, we started coming out of the pandemic, people just, I think we're kind of trained to kind of look for more convenient options with regards to food delivery and all those kinds of things. And we had really established ourselves as the mobile chiropractors in this area. And so we just decided to scrap the idea of ever opening a brick and mortar clinic and stay mobile. And it's worked out to our benefit a lot. And during this time, Angie was coming out to Colorado and visiting us, and I kept trying to convince her to move out here and do this with us. And unfortunately, only half of that worked. So she didn't move out to Colorado, but at one point, she wasn't having a great experience with her own, and I'll let her tell her side of everything, but she wasn't having a great experience in her own clinic that she was working at. And so we ended up snatching her up and getting her to start up Axon Health Baltimore. So that's how that worked.
Yeah, no, I love your whole story. And like, it's very much, I think a lot of people in COVID really changed things around, did so many different things that just kind of woke everyone up and said, okay, we have to do things different now. But I'm super excited to hear, okay, enter Dr. Angie. And everything, okay, I'm really excited to hear about your background. Now that I know how you guys met and, you're traveling back and forth and the master plan to get her to come and join forces and live, but you're in Baltimore. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me your story on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so like she had mentioned, we met in school. We were actually in the same section. So in our class of started as 94, you had smaller groups that you would do labs and stuff with. So me and Erica were in the same section. And then Nick eventually joined that group as well. So knowing them throughout the years, always kept in touch. COVID was just a wild time. So when we graduated, I moved to Baltimore and had a job lined up. Everything was great. COVID changed that a little bit and I had to find a different position. And I really liked what that practice had to offer. It was an integrated practice and I had done that for my preceptorship. So there was some familiarity there and I really liked the service, but toxic environment as well. The longer things went on, I realized I was like, this really isn't what I want to grow with. And that was my goal eventually was to grow with the practice, watch them expand and everything. And the longer I was in it, I was like, not that I didn't like what I had to do. It was just, I wish I had more freedom to treat people the way I wanted. It was a super high volume practice where I was seeing 170 to almost 200 people a week. And I was like, this is not what I want to do long term. And I only got to spend 5 minutes with the patient just to adjust them. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm able to fully treat the person. And as I made my exit, also sort of abruptly, I had talked to Erica a lot and I was like, all right, I kind of made the decision before I even left that if I went somewhere else, I was going to do my own thing. I didn't want to work for someone else and have to fit a cookie cutter mold of a practice. And so I started thinking, I was like, hey, how was it going mobile? What was that transition like? And then the more we talked, she was just like, do you want to be like on the team and be the first one to branch Axon Health across the US? And I was like, heck yeah, I'll do that. Like, that sounds great. And so it's been a little over a year now that I've been working with Erica and it's been awesome. So
Love it. East Coast, West Coast.
yeah.
Dominating both. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love the whole concept of being mobile and like, talking with so many different doctors on our show and everything. I would just love to like bring back like the modern day house call and how like I don't know, warm that feels. Like it just feels good. Like, oh, like someone is like coming to me and it feels more specialized and they care. And so like how does like this modern day house call, work for you guys? What's great about being mobile?
There's a lot of things that are really wonderful about being mobile. So one, we take the inconvenience of dealing with traffic, of sitting in a waiting room. If you're a lot of it is like if you're a busy mom and have a lot of kids that you have to wrangle up and it's like, okay, do I bring them all with me? Do I have someone that take care of them? It's summer, no one, like I don't have a school to drop them off at. It's harder to take time for yourself. So being able to come into their home or even see them at the office is a great way for us to like create that connection with the provider. Oftentimes, I feel like as a chiropractor, we get a lot more detail and end up with a lot more stories about the patient than a traditional primary care, or even if they go to a chiropractor's office or somewhere else, that when we're walking into their home, it's a sense of like authenticity and a little bit of vulnerability for the patient of we get to see how they live a little bit. So if we can catch a glimpse of their kitchen, if we see like, oh, she had mentioned this on a reel earlier this week, actually, do we see a bowl of fruit or do we see a package that has like a multi-pack of chips? Or if we know when we come to your place that you're a typical like tidy person, but we walk in and it looks like a tornado tore through there, like, hey, how's everything going? Are you doing all right?
Yep.
Stress levels, what's going on with the schedule? How are you feeling? So stuff like that, that we're able to have a little bit more cue on what's going on with the person. The other perk of it is if we're going into their workstation or we can see it, we can see if their ergonomics are beneficial for them. Especially since COVID, a lot more patients that were going into chiropractors had upper and mid back pain. So looking at like if they're hunched over at their coffee table, trying to work versus having an actual desk station, having a separate monitor so they're not looking down all the time, having a good chair that they're sitting in, all of those factors. So we can provide at least helpful tips and tricks of what is going to better help their health.
I love that. It's like two services in one. You're like, hey,
Yes.
like a lot of you working from home, or we live in our home. So that we're spending majority of our time here, maybe outside of work, or if we work from home, you're there all the time. So you get to see what they're actually doing, how they're treating their body, how they're treating themselves. And you can do so much more with that than just having someone come to your office and they just tell you what you want. You can pick up little context clues that are floating around, and you can get a really good idea about what's actually going on without them saying it. Super cool. Genius.
Yeah. If you go to our website, on the very top of it, it says health starts at home. And like, we truly believe that.
Yeah.
And, if you go into a clinic, I have to trust that everything that you're telling me is true.
Yeah.
But if I go to your home, then again, like Angie said, there's a lot more cues for us to pick up on. I can see the interactions of family members. So first off, are they even healthy interactions? You might need a referral to maybe a therapist, and I wouldn't understand that. I wouldn't see that if you were coming to the clinic and if you weren't divulging that information, because not everybody does. Or on the other hand, maybe they are healthy enough relationships, but are they supportive enough in helping you through this process of like recovering your back injury? Are they helping you do exercises? Are they reminding you to do exercises? Are they making you get up and walk across the room after you've broken your foot? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot more that we can actually see than just if you were coming to a clinic. So it's a benefit that I didn't realize that we were going to have as providers when we first started doing it, but it's very interesting to see the difference between the clinic and the home environment.
Yeah, would have never thought this interview would be going this way. It's so cool. That's so neat. I just feel like, yeah, it's amazing that you can offer that and pick up on those things. So in terms of like how the process goes, okay, someone schedules, knock on the door, hey, I'm Dr. Erica, Dr. Angie, I'm here. Now what? Do you like set up a table inside? So like, okay, yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how long are typically like your appointments?
It varies person to person. Some people I see are very much wellness, and they're like, yeah, I like to get adjusted. I am an athlete. I like to run. Occasionally I have this hip pinch feeling going on. So it can be like a 20 minute visit or a 45-minute visit, depending on if it's their initial like visit and they're getting the full exam, they're getting their vitals taken and all of that, exams, orthopedic tests, whatever needs to be done that day, but it can vary. Typically, I'd say about 20-25 minutes with the patient.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot more than what you were saying you were doing before. So
Oh yeah.
that's awesome. Is there anything else aside from being mobile that you think that is unique about your situation and how you're able to help people? Is there any other things that you can think of? You totally hit the nail on everything. But I'm sure there might be more.
You could go ahead first, Erica, if you want.
I was just going to say, we get to meet the entire family. Like even if we're just treating one person in the household, if there are 6 people living under that roof, we still get to meet everybody. So it is very different because it's almost like they invite you in as an extension of their family. And they can actually see how you're treating this person. So let's say I went to a clinic, I saw a chiropractor, and then I come home and I talk to my husband about what happened. Instead of him just getting that third party experience, he's actually getting to see the whole thing. So from a business perspective, it's also turned into like a referral system for us. Sometimes the referral isn't even coming from our actual patient. It's coming from a family member of that patient. So it's fun to get to know the family as a whole and not just the one person.
That's really cool. So when you go to someone's house, can you treat multiple people at the same time?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, so it's a whole family affair. You can go there, the whole family scene, kids in sports, mom is having like text neck, just like Okay.
We offer a multi-person discount just so for if families do want to be seen, it can be more affordable for them. But I actually have a couple of different cases where it's a group of friends that get together every few weeks. And they do like a little dinner party with a chiro night. So they make dinner for each other and then they all get adjusted. And so they get to take advantage of that multi-person discount, but then they also get to hang out and have that like social time. So there's like a social benefit to it because that also influences our health too, right? You know, lack of social, that was a big thing with COVID. We were all talking about there's this lack of social interaction. So it's kind of stimulating a regular, like, oh, we're going to be seen in a few weeks. So we're all going to meet at this time. We all know that we're going to be here. So it's also stimulating like social health as well, which I thought was really interesting for those couple groups of people.
That's so much fun. Like if you can spend time with friends or extended family and say, can we actually like do something that benefits all of us in our health? Because like we're all busy, crazy, things going on. If we can just all hang out, eat food, and get adjusted and feel better afterwards, well, why not? I think
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to hang with family and do something that benefits all.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then in a similar sense to the friends getting together, I actually ended up getting a referral from a friend who works at a hotel who referred his manager, who referred another person. And so I was just like, hey, I'll just come to the hotel and treat you all. So that worked out wonderfully. And it's funny because every time I walk in, I get people going, are you here to treat the guests? And I was like, that would be something a little different, but yeah.
I have done that actually. I've done that where I've treated somebody. They were staying at a hotel here in town and it's on a golf course. And so they had thrown their back out while they were golfing, but they were supposed to be golfing all week. And so I went to the hotel and I was like, okay, let's get you moving again.
I love
Yeah.
that. You're in like really unique situations, but I think just really meeting people with where they're at in
Yeah.
multiple senses of that line. I think that's really, really cool. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of misconceptions. Like any field in healthcare, people think that, oh, I heard this, I heard that. Is this what you do? Is this what you don't do? Or people say, I Googled this. I'm sure you're like, Google it.
Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. And Google told me. So what do you say about that? Like, is there blatant like, oh my gosh, I've heard this like 5 times in the last week. No, 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 no. What are those no, 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 no's?
I get a lot of just wondering what conditions I can treat. They're like, oh, like I don't really have back pain. It's just my shoulder. And that was actually one of my most successful patients that like ended up, it was someone from my gym who trained people. And he was like, yeah, I just haven't been able to bench press more than X amount of weight in over the past 4 or 5 years. And he was like, I tried PT, it just didn't work. So I just feel like I have to live with it. And I'm like, no. I was like, let me just try. And so we worked together for maybe a month and a half. Like I saw him a couple times a week for a few weeks and then once a week. And then he was like, he literally came up to me in the middle of my workout, dropped to his knees and started bowing. He was like, I can max out the chest fly machine. I've never been able to do that, or I haven't been able to do that in years. And I'm like, yay, like glad. I'm so happy I can help you. But yeah, a lot of misconceptions about extremity work. Like I rolled my ankle. I don't need a chiropractor. And I'm like, well, you could, like, it wouldn't hurt to try, but I never want to force people or feel like I have to push to get in the door. But I'm always open to answer questions or to at least try for people to see what I can do.
That's awesome.
I think another one is the severity of pain.
Oh, yeah.
I think if it's kind of like a dull ache and it's just kind of annoying, like then yeah, that's something that the chiropractor can treat. But if it's like a 9 out of 10 pain, they're like, the chiropractor can't help me. This is beyond that. I need surgery. I need injections. I need this. I need that. And a lot of the time, for example, like a lumbar disc herniation is I can't speak for Angie, but for me, it's like my bread and butter. It's like 9 out of 10 pain, sometimes 10 out of 10 pain. And that's what sends people literally to the ER. And they can't walk and I can get them feeling to maybe like a 2 on usually like the first visit. And so they just don't think that that's something that we can help them with. They think it's too severe. They can't help me, but our education is also meant to show, like, to have us be able to decipher, is this actually an emergency or are you just in a lot of pain? Like there is a difference.
Yeah.
And so they don't realize that we are able to decipher whether or not this is something like, yeah, we need to call an ambulance right now.
Yeah.
Versus, no, this can be treated conservatively and you don't need surgery and you don't need drugs and you don't need injections or any of these things. You might, maybe what we do won't work for you. And that does happen, but more often than not, we're able to get them feeling a lot better pretty quickly. But they think, oh, well, I herniated a disc and now I need surgery. And that's just a lot of disc herniations in particular can be treated conservatively without having to do that. But unfortunately, they hear big, scary words and they think that it's just the end of the world.
Yeah, no, I love how you said that because, yeah, I think one, you're in pain. So, like, emotionally, you're probably not able to make the best decision regarding your health. But, to know that things can be treated, on a conservative level than just going straight to surgery where that's so invasive.
Yeah.
And just because your pain level is high doesn't mean that like you have to go to the most severe course of treatment, which may not even apply to you. So why not try something like first before you decide to like go under anesthesia and have someone like pull apart your body? Let's maybe do that later.
I've heard a lot of
something else
people,
first.
yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, or even if they've had surgery in the past and they would have a discectomy or they would have a laminectomy, and then they're like, so I can't be seen by a chiropractor. And I'm like, who said? And they're just like, well, the doctor said I shouldn't. I was like, well, maybe like a certain period after time after surgery, but it doesn't mean we can't still treat you. We can still work on everything around it. A lot of people who have had maybe not a bad experience, but maybe just not like what they would consider a successful experience with a chiropractor. They're like, well, chiropractic isn't for me. And I was like, I'm sorry you had that experience, or I'm sorry it didn't work for you, but we're all very different. Same way you go to a different provider for your, like, you can see an orthopedic doc, or you could see a neurologist, or you can see your primary care physician, or you can see an ENT. Depending on what's going on, they're going to have their specialty, as well as just a different course of treatment. There's tons of different techniques, and I think I could speak for both of us. We both utilize different techniques depending on what the patient needs and what their body allows, because there's not one technique that works for every single person every single time. So catering it and personalizing it to the patient is a huge key. And I feel like a lot of people think chiropractor and they immediately stereotype like, oh, like they just pop my back and then that's it. And I'm like, well, we also can work on exercises and stretches, strengthening and balancing. Like there's so many different parts of it that we can incorporate into people's care.
I love that. And before we like leave off today, is there a piece of like homework that you could give people? Anything that you like, one thing, if someone could take out like one thing from this conversation, they could do today to better their health, no matter how small, how big this change might be in their life, what would put someone on just like a way better trajectory?
My brain is just thinking overall health, just because of societal changes over the past 20 years or so with technology, is trying not to, one, be inside as much, but just sitting as much. I've heard people say like sitting is the new smoking, and it definitely can be because of our posture. If we're not changing, if we're not moving, and Erica said it in one of our presentations that we've done, that your best posture is your next posture. So not just staying in one position all day, every day, but moving is going to be the best thing to help you. And a chiropractor can help you do that.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like, there's so many things in a given day that we do pretty much wrong, in terms of moving our body, posture. I am so guilty of like, girl, your posture is terrible right now. But I mean, I think I like what you said about that. I think keeping moving, keeping, posture, any other tips that you think that can move people in the right direction?
For me, I mean, recognizing that everything is related, and Angie also kind of alluded to this, is like we try to treat the person that's in front of us, and it's not just like what's going on with their spine, it's what's going on psychologically, it's what's going on with their soft tissues. We try to incorporate all of these things. And so I don't necessarily think that there's one specific thing that everybody should do. Most people already intuitively know what they need to work on. But I would say, honestly, people don't realize just how badly their diet is related to their pain levels.
Ooh,
It
okay.
increases your body's inflammation, like just your systemic inflammation throughout your whole body. And if you are eating poorly all the time, you're probably going to just in general experience more pain because it's pushing you towards inflammation more often. And so actually it's funny because I'm working on putting like a health challenge together right now for our patients, and the nutrition piece, I think it's pertinent to what we're talking about right now, but I want to have like just an easy challenge that somebody can do every day for the course of 7 days. And for the nutrition day, what I want to do is a rainbow challenge. So try to eat something like a whole food of every color of the rainbow that day.
That's awesome.
Purple, blue, like the fruits and vegetables essentially is like we're trying to increase that. But just the variety in your diet is super important so that you're getting all of those nutrients, and then you can also help mitigate that inflammation.
Super wise and smart. Yeah, I can see how that definitely plays a role. So I mean, aside from like an actual injury or something that someone's going through, yeah, the way your lifestyle is and the way you're eating can definitely impact also how you're feeling. And so some of that, maybe that pain level could be dropped if your nutrition is a little bit, on the up and up. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love that. So ladies, this has been amazing. You guys nailed it. Wealth of knowledge. This was awesome. I think everyone here can appreciate everything that you're saying. But before we leave, can you tell us where folks can find you, what states, cities you're in, and if they're curious about any other programs that you might have, please tell us all. We'd love to reach out.
You can go first, Angie.
Okay, so as far as Axon Health Baltimore, I am on Instagram as Aligned by Angie, but also coincide with Axon Health. So it's just Axon Health on Instagram as well. I believe we were on Facebook and LinkedIn. I had to think about it for a second, but all is as Axon Health, and I'll let her take over the other part of
Yep.
where.
The website is www.myaxonhealth.com. And you can book online. We have locations here in Colorado Springs, obviously in Baltimore. And then we also have a chiropractor out in the DFW area in Texas. So we have 3 locations right now. And then also in Colorado Springs, we have a mobile massage therapist here too. So we've got a couple different options out here. So.
Wow. Well, we are excited to see you guys grow, do more things, go to more houses, apartments, hotels. Yeah. But this has been awesome, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, and hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you so much.